meetings to be conducted remotely so that commission members may participate remotely. This meeting, as you've heard, is being recorded, and by hanging on the line, you are consenting to being recorded. If anybody else is recording using any kind of AI-powered note taker or any other device, please do the courtesy of letting everybody know about it. All right. So hearing nobody speak up on that, we're going to assume that nobody's currently using any for the moment. So let's head into the agenda for the evening. And first on the agenda is the minutes and then the cash schedule. But we do have a special guest speaker tonight, so I'm going to take things out of order. And I am going to invite our guest speaker up.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Hello, my name is Kurt Gertner, Assistant Secretary for Environmental Policy at the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. Really appreciate the opportunity to be on your agenda tonight to talk about something called the Massachusetts Integrated Land Use Strategy, an important planning effort that's underway at the Commonwealth level that will be of interest, I think, to the Regional Planning Commission as well as to the member municipalities that are represented tonight. I do have a slide deck that I want to use to run through this. I am going to be providing it to the commission for your review afterward, along with a two-page summary of the effort itself. But let me turn to slide sharing here. All right, confirming that the deck is visible.
Yep.
Yes.
Terrific. All right. So what we are underway at the Commonwealth level is something we're calling the Integrated Land Use Strategy. Think of it as the type of planning we encourage municipalities to do, land use planning with a forward look, attempting to address a whole host of different objectives that are related to where and how we grow. And it is, as it says here, a whole of government approach. Well, the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs is the lead agency for this. We are working with state agencies across government to develop and implement this land use strategy. Why are we doing this? We are doing this in part because we recognize that even though our land use patterns have improved, we are doing better at the state, municipal, and regional levels. There are still remaining issues with how we grow. The kinds of things you see listed on the left-hand side of this slide and the sort of things you see depicted are still an issue. We still are developing in ways that lead to excessive travel and congestion. We're still building in ways that put homes and businesses at risk. And even though we are developing land for additional housing, like you see in the top left, we are having an increasing affordability problem that can be attributed to how we are building our housing supply. And so part of the motivation was to address these sorts of things, some of them longstanding, but also we recognized that for the Commonwealth to accomplish a number of goals, additional housing abundance, meeting clean energy goals, that we needed to coordinate how we were addressing land use across state agencies to work together and to talk with and work with other entities such as regional planning commissions on this effort. So a finer point on this, there are a number of really ambitious objectives that have been set for a number of sectors across government. Some examples are found here on this slide. So one would be that we are looking to produce an additional 222,000 housing units by 2035 in order to meet housing goals. At the same time, in order to convert from a fossil fuel-based economy, we need to generate 50 gigawatts of clean energy by 2050, and that includes 27 gigawatts of ground-mounted solar, which of course has plenty of land use implications. And at the same time, we've set the goal of conserving 40% of the Commonwealth by 2050. And what we have concluded at the state level is that we can't accomplish all of those things, at least not do it well, if we don't plan for those things now, plan for it proactively, and work across agencies to engage with agencies, to coordinate and develop consensus on preferred locations for the variety of land uses, so that when we are working to permit those and otherwise cause them to come into being, we will have issues. And we want to establish commitments now by state agencies to implement the consensus priorities through specific policies and programs I'll talk about in a minute. And we really want to do this in a way that works effectively with others. And one of the reasons why we're having this session tonight and to introduce this project and to come back to talk with the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission and the other RPAs and municipalities over the course of the next 9 months or so as we work on this project. We do this in order to realize the goals of many, many planning efforts already completed. These are some good representative examples of plans that have been done at the Commonwealth level: Clean Energy and Climate Plan, the Home for Everyone, our housing plan. Our goal is to take the objectives of these, to the extent they require land use, work to cite those uses on the ground and in a way that helps us realize these all at the same time. We also do this knowing that we have existing tools that are available for some of these functions. So, for example, you see depicted on here the technical potential of solar tool, looking at siting for those types of uses. We also have a climate resilience tool. Point is, any number of existing mechanisms and tools that hopefully you're somewhat familiar with would be folded into and become part of this effort going forward. Land use planning at the state level, of course, is not this is not a unique idea. At least a dozen other states have done their own plans for future land use. You see some examples on here. I'm going to focus for a moment on the bottom left-hand side there, the Connecticut locational guide map. And I'm going to show you some examples of how that works in a moment. But I note one thing in their own text here on the left-hand side that is true of Massachusetts as well. These in the middle there are intended to be descriptive, not prescriptive, and considered alongside other plans. So what we are doing here, much as Connecticut has done, is to provide not something that's a mandate, but something that is a tool for state agencies and others to use when thinking about and making land use decisions. Here's my two examples using the Connecticut tool. On the left-hand side there, you see the address of 22 Prospect Street in Windsor, Connecticut. And the idea here would be if you were a manager in state government, say of the state's Housing Works program, and you were reviewing a proposal for funding at 22 Prospect Street, you would be able to look into that address, determine what the priorities are for that location. In this case, in Connecticut, this is a suburban growth zone. And that location, you would therefore be able to say, okay, this is a more appropriate location for a housing-related investment than the one you see on the right-hand side there. That's O'Leary Road in Thompson, Connecticut, the Quiet Corner. And this is a location with agricultural fields and abundant natural resources, a place where we would hope this would lead a housing-oriented or development-oriented proposal not to favor, and on this at the same time, if there were a proposal for one of our land conservation programs, this would help the manager of that program to say, okay, this is a location that meets the criteria that is according to the priorities that we've established. Just a basic example of how this might be applied. And of course, we would customize this for Massachusetts and not have it work exactly as Connecticut's does. In terms of the major project deliverables, they are, first of all, a GIS planning tool. The state and regional planning agencies and others have over many years now developed a very robust GIS environment, and we have lots of information that we can draw on to help us make those important decisions about future land use based on natural resources and infrastructure availability, and a whole host of other issues which we will talk about in future conversations. But the idea is to use those resources to both guide decision-making, helping us to prioritize, and to utilize a GIS-based viewer and tool to help articulate the vision once we are done, to provide access to municipal officials to developers of all kinds to staff at regional planning agencies for consideration as all sorts of things are occurring on policy, permitting, and funding decisions. The idea being that these things would be considered and be available as all sorts of entities are making choices. You might ask how this is organized. I wanted to provide a basic idea on this one. So, of course, senior leadership, cabinet level folks are involved in this. We have briefed the governor and lieutenant governor on this plan. So this is something supported at this very senior level within state government. The steering committee is comprised of folks across agencies at the sort of undersecretary level. And of course, we have the project management team responsible for this day to day. And we've organized ourselves into 4 topical work groups that lent themselves to working through these priorities: economic development, housing, energy, and conservation. And we have invited participation from key stakeholders and organizations, including representatives of the regional planning agencies such as Montezuma in these conversations, so that we have the perspective of entities that are really going to be key to helping understand and make this thing grounded in the realities of the conversations and the issues that are important across the state and at the municipal level. We, in addition, have a consulting team on board. The Eastern Research Group and several sub-consultants are advising the Commonwealth, helping us organize all of this. And in addition to that, we have a stakeholder engagement process. Tonight's meeting is part of, or a presentation today is part of that stakeholder engagement or outreach process. And then finally, we have integration and technical work groups. The technical work group, because GIS and data is so important to this, is central in all of these groups meeting routinely, some of them weekly, some of them monthly, to advance these efforts toward the future land use plan. And then even though they are not themselves work groups, we do recognize that the issues and concerns you see on the right-hand side there, such as equity, transportation, those things pervade all of the conversations. And so we have representatives of offices and organizations with those interests helping us consider those across the project. What sort of things are being considered by those topical work groups? Let's take economic development for a minute. Simplified tremendously, it's looking at optimal locations for development, considering things like infrastructure, access to business, the needs of business, climate resilience, and a whole host of other factors. But we've tasked each of those work groups, and they're working toward helping with locational choices for those topics. And then, of course, I mentioned the integrated considerations. These are examples that would apply across all of those topics. We do need to consider climate and environmental hazards. Decarbonization is an important factor to all of these things. So these kinds of questions, and again, you'll have the slide deck to consider this at more leisure, are the sorts of things we are asking of the representatives in the work groups to tackle across those topics. An important item also is who will be using this. What kind of use cases do we have? And again, these are select examples of the types of users we are anticipating for the tool and the plan as it's produced. So state agency program managers, I've mentioned that a couple of times, but also in this case, I would mention regional planners, regional planning agencies, MPOs, and the like. We are looking to provide that intentions regarding future land use as a consideration as regional policy plans and investments and other things are considered. So some representative examples of the types of users and ways in which we think the integrated land use strategy would apply. So I wanted to provide something in this presentation about what are some of the particular concerns and challenges that are part of this. One of them is just the sheer number of different issues and agencies involved here and working across those agencies to accomplish a whole bunch of complicated land use objectives at the same time. And the variety also of the different types of data and things to bring into the conversation. And you can see on the right-hand side how we are looking to address some of the concerns that are coming into the process. One of them is basically stakeholder buy-in, concern, or making sure that those interests that are represented by municipal officials and the like are part of our process, that their issues are understood. And so we are working through the regional planning agencies. We are contracting with the agencies to help us engage with you. This is the first step of that. We are looking in coming months to come back to the commission and talk to you about the types of data we're intending to apply, how the tool might work in order to get your feedback on those. And of course, as we begin to prioritize for those future land uses, to provide you with a draft version of that and to talk through how those things are arranged on the landscape, and to get feedback on those as well. This slide I like to use to talk about how do we know we're succeeding with this. And I'm sort of viewing that as, in the future, agency leaders, program managers really are looking to the plan, to the objectives for future land use when they are making those key choices about policies and plans and investment choices. And by the same token, will also be a success if all kinds of stakeholders understand clearly what the state is trying to accomplish and where funding and other requests are likely to be met with success. If you know you're intending to apply for a MassWorks grant for economic development purposes, it's really helpful for folks to know where those types of projects are most likely to succeed, and not just by a set of criteria, but also by where they fit in on the landscape with different development objectives. As to an engagement strategy, of course, we are working across the agencies. Those are our principal target, is working to get agencies into alignment and to work through how we would implement this plan through those state agencies. But we are also very interested, as you can see on the right-hand side here, in engaging with regional and local governments, partnering with the regional planning agencies to participate in work groups. As I mentioned, staff from the 13 agencies are involved in all 4 of the topical work groups, as well as the technical team, to integrate regional land use issues into our planning efforts. We know that quite a few regional planning agencies and municipalities have already established objectives for future land use. We're looking to incorporate those into our efforts, and we want to basically work through engagement with regional planning agencies and communities to do this. This is a rough schedule of the way we are intending to work through this. The key things to take away here in order to leave time for questions are: we do intend to deliver a draft strategy in late winter, early spring, and that we are looking to complete our work around Labor Day of next year. So it's an ambitious schedule, but one we feel we can meet, and we have arranged our work plan to address that particular schedule. And then, as I say, I do want to get to time for a few questions and comments. To recap, so what are we up to? Data-driven collaborative framework for future land use planning at the state level, with the intent to coordinate all the variety of aggressive land use goals the Commonwealth has established. We do have the work groups underway. We are engaging in that priority setting. And tonight, I appreciate the opportunity to Glenn and others, thank you, to just give you a really quick rundown, make you aware that this is happening, because we do intend to return and talk to you in some detail about the content and approach to this and how we are going about making those prioritization decisions. So do stop sharing the screen and offer happy to take questions, comments, and let me ask if anybody has anything they'd like to bring up.
Kurt, what does EEA stand for?
Oh, my apologies. Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. So I work for Secretary Tepper at Energy and Environmental Affairs, and Energy and Environmental Affairs has been tasked to lead this effort on behalf of the Commonwealth. Although our steering committee incorporates economic development, housing, MassDOT, A&F, and so on.
Great, thank you. Executive Office of Environmental Affairs.
Energy and Environmental Affairs. Yeah.
Environmental Affairs.
Let's see. Peter? You're muted, I'm afraid.
I'm sorry, I'm muted. Yeah, I think I appreciate it. It certainly seems ambitious, particularly the part where you're trying to coordinate it, across the board, a lot of different agencies. I know we've encountered issues here where we have affordable housing goals in town that we're trying to meet that are part of our, planning master plan, and we've encountered difficulties, particularly with fisheries and wildlife. All of our town happens to be in an ACEC, and they're pretty sensitive, and we have issues that come up that preclude us from using parcels that we might like to use that we're not able to. So I'm hoping this leads to a higher level of coordination among agencies, because I think there sometimes some internal conflicts between what the goals are and the different silos that different agencies work in, and how to actually make that happen on the ground.
That is very much the objective of what we're up to. We're trying to cooperate, say, with Secretary Augustus at Housing and Livable Communities and his team now, rather than have us run into issues of implementation later. So that is our ambition, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Keating?
Hi, thanks, Kurt. Yeah, so this sounds really ambitious, and we do have ambitious plans in Lancaster, but so we're working with the state on producing a lot of housing on one of the DCAM sites. We approved some subdivisions. The missing link, of course, is the infrastructure. And I think we have some really great opportunities. But of course, okay, how do you dig 2 miles of sewer, and then so beyond MassWorks, if we were to get in and work closely with this program and do some intermunicipal agreements with, say, Shirley, and then the MWRA in Clinton, to clean up and increase capacity. We do all the homework and we put in a MassWorks grant. At what point are we going to say, okay, yeah, sure, we're going to make this North Lancaster project work? Those are things I'm trying to hoping that we get clarity to.
Well, that also is part of what we intend here. And the example I would give is that the Commonwealth recently had something called the Unlocking Housing Production Commission, and has a whole host of recommendations. But the one I would focus on for this purpose is the administration agreed to take a look at where it would be appropriate to extend additional water supply and wastewater capacity for the explicit purpose of encouraging growth. And another aspect of that would be the MWRA system, and knowing that it has capacity, particularly on the water supply side, to help us work through where it would be appropriate for the Commonwealth to make investments, not just through MassWorks or Housing Works, but generally, where are the right places to really invest in, admittedly, expensive infrastructure, with the explicit point of making the best land use choices we can make, knowing we can only invest in a certain number of those types of large scale water or sewer projects, this is helping us to sort through where those might be the best made.
Right. So I guess that my question is then, if you're limited to 2, 3, maybe 4 sites, do we get, are rural sites going to be, or rural small towns going to be considered, or is it only gateway areas? At what point? Are the towns themselves or the communities themselves going to be able to self-advocate in this process?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons we're having conversations like this one is for those types of purposes. It's why the intent for a second conversation with the commission would be, here's the types of factors we're looking at as evaluating good places for those sorts of investments. Do you folks agree or disagree? Have we weighted these properly? It's difficult to promise we can make an investment in
Oh,
every
no,
single
absolutely.
town,
But we have highway access, we have potential for tourism, we have potential for light industry, we have potential for life sciences. It's just that missing piece. We need the sewer and the water in that particular part of town. So, yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah, and that I would close this one out by saying I've long been enthusiastic about more package treatment type investments, not those that would be able to do, say, mixed use at small city and town scale, and not necessarily the super large investment to tie into a regional sewer treatment plant. So I think there's some possibilities at different scales in the infrastructure investment.
Great.
Thomas?
Yes, again, that's I'm really very appreciative of the plan you all are working on and putting forward. Conservation and housing development don't necessarily have to be mutually exclusive. Have you considered the idea of presenting some carrots to individual towns? Say, all right, on a given 40-acre plot, um, conserve 30 acres, and on 10 acres, break it down into really small building lots, therefore small houses that more people in the Commonwealth could afford, at perhaps a little bit lower price. It's clear that McMansions no longer are cutting it in many places. And if there was some sort of carrot that the Commonwealth could present the towns to encourage that type of development, is there any thought to that?
Yes, I don't think it's an exclusive. This is a conservation and this is development. And these two never meet. So recognizing particularly that some of the existing expectations regarding land use, zoning, and the like would lead. Bottom line is yes, I think there are locations where certain portions of the property are best conserved. Conserved, and other portions appropriately developed. And yeah, I think there are lots of housing types that we don't build enough of now, cottages, bungalows, things like that would be able to work on a smaller footprint and produce some of the more affordable types of housing that we've building not enough of.
And do you think carrots from the Commonwealth would be helpful? And if so, what possibly? Zoning enhancements somehow?
Always helpful to provide some kind of reward for a behavior we're looking to encourage. Sure, I think we'd have to talk about what might be enough to do that sort of thing. I think some other types of incentives in the past, while well intended, I guess I'd go with Chapter 40R or 40S. Those nice idea, wasn't enough incentive to really move the needle significantly in terms of adoption at the local level, and maybe a conversation is to be had about what type of incentive might actually work best.
Okay, a quickie fact here. You want 220,000 homes by what, 20? I don't remember the date, but
2035 is the goal set in the plan.
So including apartments, and how many are being built per year now? So how are we sort of on this track, or really lacking, or where do we stand?
I should know the number annually. I don't. But I do know it is not at a pace to get us to 222,000 units without stepping up the construction of new housing.
Okay, and that would include the apartments that we rentals. That's everything.
The state's housing plan speaks to which types of housing are being encouraged, and it really is it excludes very little. It does say we've pretty much got enough large lot types of homes, and we need a lot of other varieties, including apartments and the like. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Again, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, I guess Glenn or others, let me know when I'm happy to continue taking questions. But otherwise, I would say I really appreciate the opportunity. This was intended to be, as I say, introductory. Really let you know that we're up to this. Let you have a sense of what the intentions are, and to set the stage for a more detailed conversation to come.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for coming this evening. And just to take the last crack at it, since I get to as chair,
Sure.
I heard mixed throughout the questions. We heard the words carrot and we heard the word stick come up multiple times. And when I look at something that is such a broad initiative as what's here, I think there's going to be a lot that needs to get sorted out in the way. And coming from a particularly small town, when I see something broad like this across the state, I worry that we're going to get kind of lost in the margins on it, where we're going to get subject to something that's going to become a tool for state level decision makers and hopefully us, but primarily state level decision makers, but not necessarily get the same kind of focus that the large communities get, even though it's something we all have to live with equally. So just wanted to bring that up as a final point to make sure that doesn't get lost in the conversation as it moves forward.
Yep. Recognize the concern. There are quite a few communities, small and rural, across the Commonwealth that we do need to consider in this, and appreciate the point.
All right. Well, thank you very much. It was a very good presentation and a good discussion afterwards.
Great. Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you. All right. So returning to the regular agenda, we actually had skipped over the call for attendance. So Kayla, if you would, can you please take that call?
Dean Valier,
Please speak up because not everybody is on screen. I saw Dean move his hand, but
I heard it.
okay.
okay,
I'm media challenged.
Guy Corbacero,
Guy Cordacero here.
Doug Thornton,
Thornton here.
Tom Russo,
Russo here.
Peter Cunningham,
Yeah, Cunningham present.
Hartley Pleshaw,
Lee Plushaw here.
Robert Schwartz, Robert Schwartz,
Yeah, he's muted.
Brian Keating,
Keating here.
Alan Pease,
Here.
Amanda Reed,
Here.
Christopher Monroe.
Monroe here.
Those are
All
all
right.
voting members.
All right. Are there any members of the commission who have not been called or recognized? All right. So back to our regularly scheduled program. Next up on the agenda is acceptance of the previous minutes for our meeting of December 4th, 2025. The minutes for that meeting have been distributed to all the members of the commission electronically through the shared drive and email. I would like to take them by getting a motion and a second and then handling corrections during the discussion. So with that, do we have a motion?
Guy Cordacero votes to accept as printed.
All right, and we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah,
Second.
Cunningham second.
Excellent. Hearing a motion and a second, do we have any corrections within the minutes? All right, hearing none, I would like to move forward and call a vote by roll.
Dean Valier,
Valier, aye.
Guy Corbacero,
Cordacero, aye.
Doug Thornton,
Thornton, aye.
Thomas Russo,
Russo, aye.
Peter Cunningham,
Yeah, Cunningham abstain. I was not at that meeting.
Hartley Pleshaw,
Lee Plushaw, aye.
Robert Schwartz,
Schwartz abstains. I wasn't present at the meeting.
Brian Keating,
Keating, aye.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Abstain.
Christopher Monroe.
Monroe abstain. All right. Are there any commissioners who have not been called or heard on the issue? All right, the motion carries. So moving forward in the agenda is the review of the cash schedule. And just as a point of order, because it looks like we have gone back and forth between Tracy and Mr. Schwartz reading it. But
I'll read it.
I was about to say, I believe by law, we should have Mr. Schwartz read it, but
Yep.
awesome. Well, thank you.
Okay, cash schedule for 12/1/2025 to 12/31/2025. Beginning balances is a total of $536, $536,418.37. Cash receipts and let's see, transfers to zero interest, $291.06. Total receipts are $257,648.48. Total cash on hand before this warrant, $794,266.85, less the amount of all cash disbursements, $211,668.29. Balance after this warrant. $582,598.56. On deposit as of January 1, 2026, total on deposit $682,598.58.
Yeah,
That is the cash
excuse,
schedule.
excuse me, Robert, point of order. I believe that number is 582,598, not 6.
You're right. You're right. $582,598.58.
Well, yeah. 56 cents, but pennies don't count anymore. So.
Okay, 56 cents. It looks like an 8 to me. It's pretty
Yeah.
small.
Yeah, got it.
That is the extent of cash schedule.
All right, thank you. Would someone like to make a motion to accept the warrant as presented?
Yeah, so moved, Cunningham.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Thornton second.
Any discussion? All right, calling a vote by roll.
Dean Valier,
Aye.
Guy Corbacero,
Aye.
Doug Thornton,
Thornton, aye.
Thomas Rousseau,
Russo, aye.
Peter Cunningham,
Yeah, Cunningham, aye.
Hartley Pleshaw,
Aye.
Robert Schwartz,
Schwartz, aye.
Brian Keating,
Brian Keating, aye.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe.
Monroe, aye. Are there any members of the commission not called or heard on the issue? All right, hearing none, the motion carries. So we are into guest announcements and questions. I don't believe there are any. And that puts us into administrative matters. And Mr. Eden, I know you had asked to proceed out of order here, so please proceed in the order you choose.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to do 6.1, then 6.3, then 6.2. 6.1, there's nothing significant to report at this time concerning federal funding on the agency. I just want to close this section off very quickly by saying I can't remember the last time that there were so many state grants available for communities and RPAs and so on and so forth. So this is a good time for us, and you'll see when I do a budget presentation in a moment or two that the projected revenue for the agency is almost exactly equal federal to state revenue. It's unique that this happens. So that's 6.1 out of the way, unless somebody has any questions. Then if we go down to 6.3, please, Kayla, I know you're headed there already. And then Kayla, if you could pull up the narrative, the separate handout. I'd appreciate that. This is a summary of the budget, and the budget is basically 3 spreadsheets. One's revenue, one's expenses, and one is salaries. And they all fold together, and we can pull those up if you want to see any detail. We can answer any question you have. This is a quick summary. I'm going to read about half of the words that are on the screen. Quick 5 points. As of this time, the total revenue amounts to a little over $3 million, about $3,010,000. Total expenses a little under 2.9 million. We get about 2.871, leading to a potential surplus. And I say potential, that's a key word because we're mid-year, but we try to watch this at $139,000 or 4.8%. The second item, basically, when you have this many dollars mid-fiscal year, you know you have too many dollars for the number of staff you need to deliver the services that you've contracted to deliver in our world of planning. So what we need to look at is, overall, I need to look at 2 positions, but one's on the table tonight and in the proposed budget to include the hiring of another planner. So basically, this is generally about the planning and development department. It had 6 people through mid-November. We lost our planning and development director. We promoted a person within planning and development to the position of planning and development department. Planning and development director, that's Bernie Cahill, who's been promoted. Which leads me to item 3. So we need to basically fill Bernie's position. I do need to state that also we have Tracy Warrington's position that is still technically open, but right now, you know, we could turn the ship in the direction to hire 2 more planners, or my counsel will be a planner and then possibly a fiscal assistant, because we need to have a more robust fiscal and admin department again. We did have a fiscal director and an assistant until about a year ago, and we've struggled without having the number 2 person. So that's the fiscal assistant is probably something to come fairly soon. We need to get through another month or 2 before we make a final decision. So we need to hire a planner between the $55,000-$75,000 level. We're going to advertise within a couple of business days to advertise for that position, and then solidify that we have the money, and then hire as to fill Bernie's position. Item 4 is just something I thought I'd put down because you're going to hear me say this again in February. That in February we'll do a draft budget per state statute that shows us the revenue picture for the upcoming fiscal year. And when you create a budget for the upcoming fiscal year, we adopt it in June. As long as you're within about a 20%, no more than a 20% projected deficit as of June for the upcoming fiscal year, you can get through the fiscal year as long as you're doing aggressive grant writing and you're obtaining those awards. So you'll hear that in February, you'll hear that again in June. Regardless, point 5 to close this out, regardless of the possible surpluses and deficits, we need to work together. Basically, all of our rows need to be, pulling in the same direction in the rowboat. We need to monitor all expenses and not over or under hire. And another part of that fiscal assistant position is we administer a lot of grants and we have HR responsibilities. And I can't speak to the private sector, but in definitely in government, you have a lot of compliance issues. And so that's why we need to probably get a fiscal assistant back on board pretty soon. Also, among other reasons, like having a more depth on the bench. Below on the next page, Kayla, if you want to scroll down, basically the stuff that's in narrative here is in table form. If people like tables, that's fine. The revenue side, there's 5 numbers there, the total of 3 million. The federal revenue projected this year is about $1.5 million, a little over that. The state revenue is about $1.3 million, $1.3 million, a little bit over that. The local contracts is only $76,000, and we need to look at that. That really boosted to over $200,000 or $300,000 when COVID hit, and communities decided that, well, if we can't do anything in the real world, we have some money, we can do some planning. So if we boost that a little bit, we can build some more capacity also. Municipal assessments, that's what all you good 22 communities pay us. That accounts for, it's never accounted to more than 5%. And that accounts to probably 1 to 3% right now. And then the Environmental Protection Agency revolving loan fund, loan admin of 10,000. So that gets us to the 3,010,000 total expenses. That total expenses of 2.871 million. That's everything. That's all the salaries for what we call people charging directly to a contract. That's all the administrative people. That's all the overhead for rent, health insurances, office supplies, and everything else. And when you just do the math, you see the estimated surplus, 139 and $8 and change, 4.8%. And then I do these, if you want to scroll down just a little bit more, Kayla, to the over under. So total what we call indirect costs, and then over basically how you calculate the overhead rate is you take total number of all dollars that go into indirect costs over, or that's the numerator, over the total direct labor and consultants cost. So the 1.597 divided into the 1.264 million gives you a projected overhead rate of 79.14%. In the 26 years I've been here, or 27 fiscal years I've touched in some way, shape, or form or another, we've always had an overhead rate of 100% or more. The highest it's ever been was about 152 or 154. The 26 or 27 year average is 125%. And the bottom line is the higher the number in the denominator is, the lower your overhead rate is. And that's very, very, very good when you pursue grant proposals, because entities like us, if we have a higher overhead rate, we're slightly less competitive than if you have a lower overhead rate. So this is a really very good thing. Now, this is projected. Things change every day with numbers. And I could have thrown one variable, one number off today that would have made this go up or down by 1 or 10%, probably up. My point is, we watch this closely, and this is how we monitor our budget. I'm going to stop there with a presentation of item 6.3 about the budget summary. The resolution would be basically you adopt the amendments as presented. But before you do that, Kayla, would you please be so kind to pull up there's a salary spreadsheet. It's one of the 3 budget spreadsheets that I sent right there. So, and Kayla, you're reading my mind, so you're zooming in already. Kayla, could you zoom into like where rows 15 to 26, that area that's in gray? So thank you very much, Kayla. So there've been a lot of changes in the budget. The stuff in the gray are where the most of the changes occurred because we had some turnover and promotion in the planning and development department. So we had a change in rows 17 and 18 where one person departed, another person got promoted. So the person that departed is in 17, person that's promoted is in row 18. This is all the detail math right down to the penny of what's going on. Row 20, Zach K, you agreed with management's request to boost his salary at the last meeting. Tracy's in there also in row 23 as a former senior planner. So that's what we paid her, that 17 grand, through the time that she was promoted then to the position of fiscal director. And then the last thing I want to say probably on this is that row 25, the new planner. So we're going to advertise that between 55 and 75K. We've completed the internal advertising. Then we need to go external. So these are the changes you made in December. Now this is the budget that reflects those changes. I'm done with my summary, Mr. Chair, for 6.3, and I see Mr. Cunningham's hand up, and I defer it back to the chairman for the meeting.
I was about to say we have a question from the floor.
Yeah, just a quick question. I guess Glenn, looking at so you're backfilling Bernie's position as planner, correct? Right. But
Yes.
there's a period of time there where the position will be unfilled. So does that generate somewhat of a surplus in the salary line items?
It would. It would,
Okay.
exactly. And this is what I'd like to do is, even though the row 25 new planner position, let's say you put that person on at 75 grand, that's a whole fiscal year. But what I liked, so realistically, if we put them on January 2nd, a few days ago, 6 months, half the year is 37.5, half of the $75,000. And so we would be gaining some money back there. But I like to over expense in the presentation on the expenses to be cautiously optimistic and safer, conservatively, if you will. I like to put in a little extra money on the expenses, a little less on the revenue, to just proceed cautiously. So that's you caught that, Peter. That's exactly what's going on there. That number should be reduced by the June amendment, the final amendment we do in June for FY26. Yes, sir. I hope that answers your question, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any additional questions from the commission? All right. Hearing no questions, do we have someone to move the resolution?
So
Lawrence
moved.
moves the resolution as presented.
It looks like we heard Mr. Schwartz on that first. Do we have a second?
Second. Russo.
Thank you. So having a first and a second, do we have any additional discussion? Hearing none, calling a vote by roll.
Dean Valier,
Valier, aye.
Guy Corbacero,
Corbacero, aye.
Doug Thornton,
Thornton, aye.
Thomas Rousseau,
Russo, aye.
Peter Cunningham,
Yeah, Cunningham, aye.
Hartley Plushaw,
Lee Flushaw, aye.
Robert Schwartz,
Schwartz, aye.
Brian Keating,
Keating, aye.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe.
Aye. Are there any commissioners who have not been called or heard on the issue? All right, the motion carries. Please continue, Mr. Eaton.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So that budget amendment sets the stage for this. I basically explained it, so I'm going to read a lot less of what's going on here because I've really covered a lot of this stuff. Basically backfilling or replacing Bernie as the principal planner. We need to do that. You heard most of the speech already, so that really covers paragraph 1. Paragraph 2 is just a reiteration that we always need to pursue grants just to be on the safe side. And I am recommending that so we're going to go advertise for a full-time position. What I'm asking for is that you authorize management to advertise, and if we have to hire, allow us to advertise, and we'll give you the name and the credentials at the next meeting, because if we advertised Monday and we interviewed the following 2 Mondays from that, we would probably miss the February meeting. We might actually hire somebody or recommend hiring somebody like a week after the next meeting. Could be a week before. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'd like not to have to wait until March. And we've done this a few times before with your blessing. And if you don't want to do it this way, that's fine. But you have given us a little latitude to do the hiring in between the commission meetings, so long as we bring back the name, their credentials, and let you know what we didn't justified our decision management with HR and fiscal. So that's the gist. If Kayla, you can roll down to the resolution. Hereby approves ED's proposal to advertise, hire a planner in accordance with the following conditions: the salary range between 55 and 75K a year. Do so only if the revenue can support the hiring. Advertise the hiring is consistent with all applicable laws of the Commonwealth, personal policies previously to the commission, and then report the name and credentials of the party at the next meeting, which could be February, it could be March. So that's what I'm asking respectfully tonight for approval. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the commission? All right, do we have somebody to to move the resolution as presented?
Paul Basaro move the resolution as printed and read.
All right.
Cunningham second.
Thank you. Hearing a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All right, calling a vote by roll.
Dean Valier,
Valier, I.
Guy Corbisaro,
Corbisaro, aye.
Doug Thornton,
Thornton, I.
Thomas Rousseau,
Russo, I.
Peter Cunningham,
Cunningham, I.
Hartley Pleshaw,
Shaw, aye.
Robert Schwartz,
Schwartz, aye.
Brian Keating,
Brian Keating, aye.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe.
Monroe, aye. Any commissioners not called or heard on the issue? All right, the motion carries. Please continue, Mr. Eden.
Very, very briefly, I don't think I've ever written it down, but I've got a window for retirement of December 31 to June 30. I'm trying to find a date in there. I won't bore you with the details, but for a variety of personal reasons, I can't pick a date yet, but I'm getting much closer. However, Mr. Chair, Christopher and Holly Ford and I had a meeting about a month ago on my transition out and possibly doing some strategic planning. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to give you the microphone back. And if you want to talk on this strategic planning matter or not, we can put it on the agenda for another meeting. Chris, however you want to go, please,
Yeah,
please continue. Sir.
I'd like to talk about it a little bit and take the temperature of the commission on this.
Yeah.
So there's really a couple places where I would like feedback in terms of how we would like to proceed. So this is something that's still a ways out, but as we all know from working as volunteers in government, things that are a year away can creep up on you mighty quickly if you're not taking active steps towards being ready. So I would like to suggest that we do potentially two things. The first one is I would like to suggest that that the EC begin having some meetings just to outline and start talking through what some of this process is going to look like and what we as a commission need to be ready for. Because this can either be something that is relatively smooth, but anytime you have somebody who's such a strong leader in an organization, there's always a possibility for it to be a bit of a traumatic event for the organization. So although it seems like it's a way out, I want to make sure we're taking active steps towards being ready. So I wanted to see what the commission's thoughts were on that. And then I also wanted to see what the commission's thoughts were for revisiting the strategic plan before we have a transition, or whether or not the commission feels that that's something that we should be looking at when we have a new executive director. Ultimately, my reasoning for why it's a question to me and why I believe we should consider looking at the strategic planning process ahead of time is if we want to outline what we want the next ED to look like and what the goals for the ED should look like, we might want to have a handle on where we want to be strategically as an organization in the next 5 to 8 years. So I'd like to open the floor up to discussion on that. And it looks like we have a hand up with Mr. Cunningham.
Yeah. Thank you, Christopher. Yeah, I agree 100%. I think it's never too early to start, sort of mapping out what that process is. And I think on the strategic plan, particularly is important because that's going to be or provide us, I think, some guidance in the search process for a new ED and how that plays out. But I think we should definitely start talking about that and talking about, I guess, I don't know if we're thinking about doing a search committee or, exactly how I want to put that together. But I think it's an important position. The commission's important to this region, to the 22 towns it serves, and we need to put an effort into making sure we get the right person to lead us into the future.
All right, thank you. Do we have additional comment and questions?
Would we consider promoting within before we need to go out, or we're just going to go outside?
Well, that is currently what our personnel policies say. So we would need to follow our policies,
Okay.
whether the commission ultimately decided to promote from within or go externally. We would need to follow our personnel
Whatever the rules
policies as
say.
they exist at the time. Yeah.
Good.
I mean,
Okay.
ultimately, the commission sets those policies, but there is an established precedent.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say I'm sorry to interrupt, but as it relates to the strategic plan, I think that's important, whether we're going inside or going outside to try to gauge how a particular candidate is going to work with the strategic plan or understands the strategic plan and what we're thinking about.
All right, thank you. Additional comments and questions?
Guy Corvusero, I have to agree with Peter on that. And I think we ought to, set the parameters long before we go looking for somebody, whether it in-house or out with them agencies, or there's a whole lot of things to consider.
All right, thank you. Additional comments and questions from the commission?
Yeah, me again. Well, maybe this should be sort of a standing item on our agenda going forward, because that helps to sort of keep it current. And maybe it would be helpful for commission members to review what our strategic plan is, sort of get a good understanding of that, and that'll, I think, guide the process going forward.
So that is one of that's probably my most pressing question for the commission, because my initial thought when talking to Glenn about this was that perhaps we could call it the Transition Planning Subcommittee, or however we choose to noun it. But I would suggest that we run something that looks like that, and that the starting place would be the EC, because as chair, I just have the right to call an EC meeting without it being overly complicated. But we could do it as the EC with anyone who's particularly passionate about volunteering for it, and call it the Transition Planning Committee, because I think a lot of this needs to be worked out in a way where we can present options to the commission, because if we all just try to hash this out as a big group, I don't think it's going to be the most productive group think.
Yep.
But if we can come with 3 or 4 good suggestions on how we want to tackle this and put it up in front of the commission, I think we'd be pretty productive.
Yep, I'd agree.
Does anybody object to handling it that way, or at least getting started that way for now? And we'll have the committee report back.
No objection.
So if anybody passed the EC, and the EC is anybody who's any kind of named officer position, if anybody past that would like to volunteer and be a part of this, really reach out to Glenn, and him and I will talk about it, and we'll get you signed up and get you in touch with what goes on with correspondence. Things are a little mess with work and with Hubbardston right now, so it would be better for Glenn to watch those messages. Looks like we have a hand up.
Yeah, so I guess we're talking about strategic planning. Is this specifically for opening a search for economic for the director, or are we talking about a wider, also talking about other aspects of the commission as well? It's just
So
in terms of a strategic direction.
yeah, so I believe it's ultimately going to turn into both, because of the question that was brought up on what are we looking for out of the next executive director. So I would suggest that the charge of the EC, or if other people are interested and it turns into a subcommittee, would be to come back to the commission with options as the meetings keep going forward, so that we can just have a more directed conversation about it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would suggest that again, this is for another role, but we had an economic development director for a short while, and then she was promoted to another position. Um, but I think in economic development, you know, eventually, I'd like to see, especially with if we're going to if the region is going to align and be more competitive in the type of projects, state projects that Secretary Gettner was talking about, we can. I think we need to establish a larger, stronger economic development capacity at the commission that will help our communities. And I would gladly volunteer to help on that subcommittee or whatever it may be.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. All right. So are there any other questions or comments? Otherwise, if you have interest in being involved, please reach out to Glenn and myself, but always make sure you copy Glenn on it. All right, well, let's move forward on the agenda. So we have the next Lunch and Learn coming up. Is there anything you want to add to that topic, Glenn?
The meeting notice will go out tomorrow. I'm pivoting. The only thing that's not written here is I'm pivoting away from such negativity about vendor funding cuts to make it more proactive about the resources that are at the RPA that can assist the communities that we do assist with what we're doing, and some timely issues for a call for proposals for district local technical assistance and for the Unified Planning Work Program under the Transportation Department. That letter just went out under Sherry Bean. And the very first bullet was about, excuse me, the solid waste planning that we need to find some money to do because the Fitchburg Westminster facility will close in about 5 years. We did a plan 10 years ago. We need to update it. That's it. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Anything else under the administrative matters that you want to address?
No, sir. I'm all set. Thank you very much,
All right.
Mr.
All right, thank you. And just in case anybody missed it when it was rolling by, there was an item there about DLTA. So making sure everybody's eyes and ears perked up on that one. So moving forward into item 7, we have departmental updates. Do we have any updates from GIS for the commission?
None for in the GIS world, other than like our usual stuff, but we're currently upgrading our website. We're migrating, Civic Plus is migrating their platform. It's just really an upgrade, so that's what we've been kind of working on recently.
All right, thank you. Any updates from planning and development?
Yeah, just to go off what Glenn said a second ago was that the DLTA, we are hoping to issue that solicitation for projects hopefully tomorrow, Glenn. If not tomorrow, early next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday. We'll get an email out to everyone. Just a reminder, DLTA, it is within the calendar year, so projects we try to complete, well, really we want to complete them by December 31st of 2026, so on and so forth each year. So they are calendar year based and not fiscal year based typically. They also, so these can be used for things like housing production plan updates, OSRP updates, open space and recreation plan updates. They can also be used as matches for state grant funding, which is what I'm going to segue into next. Just a reminder real quick. But other things can be used for like zoning overhauls or other type of zoning amendments, land use based for DLTA projects. So I've already been in discussions with a few people about housing production plan updates, one OSRP, and some zoning changes. So we'll see if those come in. And then also really important is that the Eco One Stop is kicking off this year. This is brand new if you haven't heard about it yet. I think most of you are probably familiar with the Community One Stop, which has been running for I don't know, almost 10 years now, not quite, probably 8. Which is the idea is that you have a singular portal where you will apply for a project, and within that portal, you will be kind of directed to one of the programs within that, like the Community One Stop. So for the Eco One Stop, the programs that are available underneath it are going to be the EEA, the person we just spoke to tonight, who's from there, Kurt, cooling corridors, which is talking about heat islands, right? Reducing heat islands, which a lot of you are not going to have in the more rural areas, but Fitchburg, Leominster, Gardner, those areas will have some. Maybe even Winchendon and Athol. Dam and seawall repair removal, obviously not seawalls, but dams certainly. Culvert replacement and municipal assistance and training. And then the real big one, I think all those are important, but the planning assistant grants are also part of the Eco One Stop, as well as MVP is now part of Eco One Stop. So if you have an MVP project in mind, this is going to be where and when you're going to be applying for it in the future. And same with these other programs. They're all going to be on the same schedule now, and they're going to be using a unified application, just like the Community One Stop, except for this one, the Eco One Stop is going to be focused on environmental and climate issues, right? So it's going to have a very specific focus. And planning assistant grants, typically, these are, you can use them for housing production plan updates. Typically, they're for larger things like a full master plan update, or something even bigger. But please talk to us about which one to do, whether DLTA is right for you or whether it's a PAG as they're called. So this is supposed to be, and they cross their heart, hope to die. The state said they're coming out with this at the end of January. The Eco One Stop, and it's going to run for it's going to be open the window for 4 to 6 weeks. They still weren't even sure when I last spoke to them. And there are some trainings on it as well. But it is going to be the first year, so we'll have to be patient with them and them with us as we go through this process. But I think overall, from a planning perspective, it's really good to have this. We will have some consistency in terms of planning. When we work with all of you and your communities to come up with an MVP project, we have a much better idea of when they'll be opening each year, and as well as the other ones too. We're not going to be scrambling to figure out, well, what month next year are they doing this, right? And what's it going to look like, the application, because it'll all be under a unified application. So I will just leave it at there for tonight. If you have any questions, please, you've got my email, reach out to me, give me a call. We can have a chat about it. Happy to. And it's just the beginning of the discussion as well. So I'll just leave it there, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the commission? All right, do we have any updates from transportation?
Yep, just one quick update. We sent out our solicitation memo and email for our for project proposals to include in our work program in the Transportation Department, the Unified Planning Work Program for federal fiscal year 2027, as we typically do in January. In the past, we've included requests from communities on intersection studies, signal warrant analysis. Heavy vehicle exclusions has been a big one as of late. Really anything we'd be willing to consider in the transportation world. So that solicitation is open until February 6th. We're asking communities to get back to us with proposals. We've heard from a few already. We have a small portion of our budget in our work program carved out for these type of proposals. So I believe that all the commissioners were included in that email. There'll be some follow-up as well in the following weeks. So if there's any interest, please feel free to reach out to us at any time. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the commission? All right, calling for new business. Any new business from any members of the commission or items of interest they would like to bring to everyone's attention? All right, hearing none. The date of our next meeting is going to be Thursday, February 5th at the usual time and on Zoom. And with that, would somebody like to make a motion?
Lovasolo move to adjourn.
Cunningham, second.
Hearing a first and a second, it's non-debatable. Do we have any nays or objections? All right, it is 8:15 p.m. and we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming up. I know this is a volunteer commitment on top of another volunteer commitment for everybody, so I appreciate everyone being here. Have a
Yep.
good evening.
Good night. Happy New Year, everyone.
Good night.
Happy New Year.
All right, everyone.
Good night.